Ladies and gentlemen, can I ask you all please to stand for a minute's silence in respect for two players who sadly passed away in the past 2 weeks and who were held to play for Halifax in the 1949 Cup final. In Edmonton Jones, 73 times between 1947 and 1951, scoring 90 tries and 1 goal. In Edmonton played on the wing in the 49 Cup final. Also, George Kenny played 87 times between 1946 and 1950, scoring 8 tries and 1 goal. George was to stand up in the 1949 final. We put condolences and sympathies to all families and friends of those players. Thank you.
A minute's silence for two former Halifax players who passed away this week, members of the 1949 Cup final side. And down to the business and the fourth round of the Powergen Challenge Cup. Halifax drawing Super League opposition and a Super League side that's one of the form teams at the moment. Huddersfield Giant in 5th place. Paul Riley at fullback, Martin Aspinwall, Chris Nero, Michael DeVere and Matt Gardner the 3/4, James Evans and the familiar Robbie Paul at halfback, Earl Crabtree, Brad Drew, Paul Jackson, Paul Smith, Stuart Jones and Stephen Wilder forwards, Steve Snitch, Stuart Donnellan, former Halifax player, Wayne MacDonald and Andy Raleigh on the bench for the Giants. Currently in 5th place in Super League and has managed to rack up 100 points in the last 2 games. 64 against the Harlequins, 36 against Castleford last week on the way to victory at the Jungle. And Halifax taking the ball away from their own line from the kick-off. Damien Ball, Halifax captain, driving it up the last tackle, signalled by Ronnie Lawton, the referee. The ball will go back to Joel Penny and he will kick it across field, and Aspinwall will bring it back into a 2-man tackle 22 metres out from the Huddersfield line. Halifax this afternoon, Brad Atwood at fullback, James Haley, Anthony Blackwood returning from injury, Andy Kirk and Mark Barlow the 3/4, Dean Lawford and Joel Penny at half-backs, Johnny Simpson, Simeon Hoyle, Jason Bolts, Joe Hurst, Keith Heckenberg and Damien Boyle are the forwards. Dominic Brambene, I've been told, is the correct pronunciation. Adam Hayes, Jody Sharif and Dane Nyrinks on the bench. Heckenberg and Nyrinks recovering from injuries suffered in the defeat at Rochdale last week. Brad Drew taking advantage of Simpson there and putting the kick over the top, fielded by Mark Barlow, who, to his credit, took everything that Rochdale threw at him last week over at Scotland. Simpson drives it forward, and in the last round Halifax played in a bog at Kells. It was a lot worse than this, but there's been rain every day at Halifax, so that might just level it up a little bit in Halifax's favour. And problems again this week for Anthony Farrell as Andy Hobson and Dave Larder pulled out of the side. The only good news on the injury front, of course, the return of Blackwood. But the word is that as we approach the National League One season, that one or two players on the way or close to being back again. Crossfield kick left to bounce by Michael DeVere. The ball goes into touch Haley unable to reach it. And Michael De Vere, one of the biggest signings Huddersfield had made in recent years, surrendered his international career to join Huddersfield, but spent most of last season on the sidelines with a severe injury. And Huddersfield have the luxury this afternoon of resting Chris Thorman, who's such an influential part of their team, as is Robbie Paul, who spent 11 years at Bradford before moving down the road to the Gal Farm Stadium. And he will be controlling a lot of what goes on from the acting half, as will Brad Drew, who's also an influential member of this Huddersfield side. Huddersfield L2 halfway at the moment. Crabtree brought inside again on the run. Was a member of the 40-man squad for Great Britain last season, although he never made the cut. Could be there again this season, though, after making some great strides and getting big raps. But Halifax holding out at the moment everything that Huddersfield throw at them. A long way to go as Kirk drives the ball into a two-man tackle. Jason Bolt's come back on the inside ball off Simeon Hoyle into Crabtree, I think, the first man, and the ball away. Hurst with that drive. Halifax forced to kick downfield again, where Riley will gather it up on his 10-metre line. He's can be very explosive going forward, can Paul Riley, but he's used a man as the obstruction, and that will give Halifax and Dean Lawford, I would imagine, an opportunity of early points. Well, the whole of the Halifax defence stopped then, wondering which way Riley was going to go, and he actually went behind his own man. So first penalty to Halifax. From Ronnie Lawton. And a bit fortuitous really, because the Halifax defence seemed to have stopped to wait and find out which way Riley was going. And in fairness, I don't think Riley actually caused an obstruction with anybody, because there wasn't a man moving up. But Halifax will take the two from the penalty from Dean Lawford. 14th goal of the season, and it's Halifax 2, Huddersfield Giants 0. Huddersfield were semi-finalists in the Challenge Cup in 2004. The last time these two teams met in this competition, 1998 at Thrumall, in what was essentially the last competitive ever game at Thrumall, although Halifax went on to play Leeds in a friendly as the official last match. And prior to that, they performed a giant killing act in about 1995, when Halifax took a weakened side as a first division side. Huddersfield were in the second division and they won 36-30. Penny kicks it downfield again, and it slips from the hands of Matt Gardner, and he has to bring it out from behind his own try line, and he didn't do a bad job. There were 3 men on him initially. None went round the leg, so he was allowed to make a few yards forward. And Keith Heckenberg in the walls already with strapping around the head. Halifax sending in a 3-man tackle. Aspinwall. A bit of a shock when Wigan sold Aspinwall and Wild, who were classed as 2 of their stars for the future. And a few eyebrows raised when they actually chose Huddersfield as the club to go to. But it's been rewarded with that 5th place in Super League. But Halifax not letting the Super League neighbours breathe so far in this game. Last tackle again Huddersfield not up to halfway, so Drew will be forced to kick, and the ball has bounced up on the post, and that has turned it from an average kick that may have gone dead into a good kick for the Giants as they move up and make the tackle on the 10-metre line. Hartwood complaining there as he got up. And a three-man tackle on Mark Barlow, who's come across from the other side of the field to try and help out the forward, Jason Bolts. It disappears under 3. Penny to Lawford. Lawford out the back. Pass back inside, but the defence sliding across for Huddersfield. And the 5th tackle, Halifax, not out of their own half, but they will be now, because Ronnie Lawton has just signalled a second penalty for Halifax. The Giants offside. Well, there's a huge gulf in between teams in Super League and National League 1. And they probably will be a couple of yards faster, but too fast there for Ronnie Lawton as he pinned them for the offside. And Halifax go looking for more points with Simpson, once of course of Huddersfield. He's put down 21 metres away from the line. Jason Bolts tackled, and it's once again there's 3 men there. Penny looking for runners, finds Kirk, but Kirk with work to do is immediately marked by De Vere. Hoyle to Penny. Halifax look to move it out wide, that ball drifting across. Alright, says the referee. Rolled on the ground in a straight line, which is unusual for a rugby ball. Johnny Simpson taking a rest as Jody Sharif comes on, and Lawford's kick has put pressure on the Huddersfield line, and Penny put pressure on well, it wasn't Paul Riley that picked the ball up, but Penny knew exactly what Lawford was doing, put the kick across the face of the goal, and it looked like Gardner that might have been the man that picked that one up. Damien Ball, the bounce takes it a skid over the surface, another 10 metres. Ball takes it back to the Giants 30-metre line. Sharif trying to step out of the charge from Crabtree, but there was defence waiting, and it was Paul Jackson. In fact, I think it was Jackson that took the ball behind the post and was forced touching goal. Lawford to Penny, attacking that Giants line. Unable to find the gap. Halifax play it quickly. Hoyle to Kirk, and Kirk too far away to stretch the arms out. On the last tackle, Hoyle to Heckenberg. Has he got the ball down? Well, Halifax players were cheering, but that's the closest to a try so far, and the Giants will be forced to run it out on the turnover from right on their own line. Riley will be caught by 3 and will immediately go to ground before they try to drag him back over his own try line. Huddersfield supporters shouting for the offside. Halifax pulling back, Huddersfield supporters still complaining and getting the first penalty. Well, a good position there for Halifax, but they overstepped the mark. And Ronnie Lawton's not standing any messing about. He's quick with his whistle, so they know what to expect. And Keith Eckenberg will be sent from the field as the blood pours from underneath that strapping that was put on earlier. And on will come Adam Hayes, former Featherstone man. And he's straight into the action with Sharif and Hoyle. Hoyle clutching at his face there. as Huddersfield get over the advantage line. Robbie Paul puts the ball back inside, but Halifax have defenders there on the 30-metre line. Jackson snuck away from the first tackler, but had Jason Bolt sticking to him. Here goes Paul again from acting half. Halifax with gang tackling, 3 men on that far side, but that leaves Huddersfield options on this side of the field. On the last tackle, Drew will drop the little kick in. Jackson will probably claim he was taken out there, and Joel Pennant will dance away from the line, and Ronnie Lawton's telling them the tackle's made and to get on with it, but Halifax spill up possession, and Jackson is pumping the legs back towards the Halifax line. Well, conditions not helping Halifax there as the ball squeezed out in the tackle. Huddersfield keep it moving, and De Vere will put Matt Gardner in for an easy try in the corner after the mistake under the post. Well, Halifax had managed to weather everything Huddersfield had thrown at them for the first 15 minutes. But Halifax not having the numbers, probably from the 3-man tackle on the far side of the field. Halifax lacking in numbers on this side. The ball coming out wide. Huddersfield taking advantage. Haley left with a difficult task, stopping a 2 against 1, and Gardner goes in for the first try. But Robbie Paul involved again, always from the acting half, taking Huddersfield forward. And Michael De Vere, who I think took over Terry Mattison's scoring record at the Brisbane Broncos before he came to England, will try and turn the 4 into 6 from a metre in from the touchline, and it looks good from here, and De Vere's kick goes over. He doesn't even look to see where it's going. He knew as soon as it left the boot that the 4 was going to become 6, and it's Halifax 2, Huddersfield Giants 6. Well, that all started really from the penalty that Halifax gave away when Huddersfield were on their own line. But as I say, Ronnie Lawton is quick with a whistle on the offside, so Halifax need to be careful. He pinned Huddersfield the same way. Of course, teams will play to the offside so long as they can get away with it. Huddersfield looking for a little bit of green where there's perhaps a little less of the pitch cutting up, and going forward with a little bit more purpose now, the Giants, as they make halfway. Drew will opt for the kick early in the tackle count and force Mark Barlow back. He'll look up and see the Huddersfield defence chasing him down, sending 5 men after the kick. Well, that was very, very quick from the play the ball. The Huddersfield defensive line was almost on to the Halifax man immediately, and the crowd made the feelings known. Penny turns it back inside to Sharif. Adam Hayes stopped on the 30-metre line, and the last tackle, the ball goes back to Lawford for the kick, and the kick is picked out of the air by Paul Riley, who will set off back towards that Halifax line, once again running across the defensive line. Eventually there are hands on him. 25-metre run, but 22 of them were sideways there from Riley, and Halifax will have to try and contain the Giants again as they come forward. Crabtree stopped by Sharif and Hayes just over halfway. Drew uses the short side, looks for the runners, ball goes out to De Vere. He's put down on the 30. Drew to Crabtree, thought about the pass to Robbie Paul, but then was tackled. Last one, looking for Drew, who'll put the ball through again, and Atwood will pick it up and try and bring it back, and will try and go to ground before Huddersfield put him back over the line. And once again, Halifax managed to keep the ball in play. And once again, Halifax fans becoming a little bit irate as Huddersfield really fired off the blocks, and Halifax are going to struggle to get away from their own line at the way things are going. Damien Ball tries to duck under two tacklers, and Halifax finding it increasingly harder to get away from their own line. So Penny hoofs the ball downfield and forces Riley back to. He's beyond his own 10-metre line, and Penny's the first man there to try and make the tackle on the fullback, and he does so successfully, throwing himself at the feet of Riley. Well, Halifax needed a bit of a breather away from their own line, but it might only be a brief respite, because it was a good run there that took the ball 12 metres forward for the Giants. Robbie Paul being penalised, didn't get up correct. Well, it's not Paul that's being penalised, but the man who didn't get up and play the ball correctly has. And Brad Drew has something to say to Ronnie Lawton about something that went on at the other end of the field. Walks away shaking his head. And Halifax have another chance to attack this Giants line. The Giants defence stood up so far. Heckenberg went close and was stopped inches short. Lawford looking for runners. Atwood comes up from fullback, and Lawford was looking for somebody on a diagonal run because Halifax have lost ground. Lawford struggling to take that one. The wind not doing any favours with the ball. It's a swirling wind this afternoon. Well, once again, the surrendering possession haunts Halifax in the opposition 20-metre area, as it has done so many times so far this season. And Riley almost standing and waiting there for the defence to move towards him. Hurst, the first man to the tackle. Bolt helping to finish off. Another big hit on that far side. I think it's Hurst again, it is. But Huddersfield threatening to cut loose, and it's Joe Hurst once again. His third tackle. And he literally had a hand in it as he held on to the shirt, or the back of the shorts of the Giants' attack, as they tried to keep the ball moving. Jackson thought about the pass. Just over halfway, last tackle. Brad Drew will again hoof it forward. Brad Atwood 5 metres away from his own line, gives Haley a chance of a run, but Haley unable to find daylight in that Giants defence. Barlow comes in and tries to give the forwards a breather. Not the best of passes, but Hurst managing to pick it out of the air, and a replacement for Huddersfield. The effects of that tackle being fully felt. I think it's Stuart Jones who will come off to be replaced by Steve Snitch, and Penny will regather a ball that went back inside that nobody took. There was no runners there, and so again Halifax lose possession. A much more dangerous position this, as far as Halifax are concerned. And Riley looking for a way through the middle. And Huddersfield make another replacement and they take off Earl Crabtree and replace him with Wayne MacDonald, two of the biggest forwards in Super League. Huddersfield reportedly have one of the biggest packs as Nero puts the short ball to Paul Smith, and Smith stopped 12 metres away. Nero in acting half. Drew fires the ball away and it goes to Lawford, and Lawford is immediately marked down by Robbie Paul, and Barlow slips away from the first tackle, gets over the 20, and then he's jumped to the ground. Well, he's there. Brad Drew's complaining, but well, if you ask for one thing from referees, it's consistency, and at the offside, Ronnie Lawton is not taking anything, and he's just blow the whistle, and his signal's clear and well defined. So I think that's the third penalty out of 5, or fourth penalty out of 5 that's been given for the offside. Heckenberg stitched up and bandaged up, and a new shirt on back on to replace Adam Hayes as Jody Sharif disappears under 2, but not without a fight just inside the Giants' half. Penny puts the ball forward and Nero picks it out of the air. Damien Ball set off to run after it, but he'd gone a different direction. Here goes MacDonald, and James Haley getting caught up in the legs of MacDonald there as he threw himself into the tackle. Gardner, the try scorer.
Number 15, Paul Jackson.
Huddersfield making a further change as Nero steps inside. Had De Vere running on his shoulder. Elected not to give the pass. Last tackle. Robbie Paul will test Barlow with a kick that's dropping close to that line, and Mark Barlow manages to bundle it touching goal, so Halifax will be forced to drop out. Great kick from Robbie Paul. It came down about inches from the line. Barlow had to go for it, and he's managed to put the ball dead. Had he been caught with it, they'd have pushed him over the line anyway, so either way the likelihood was that Huddersfield would regain possession from the kick. And Lawford hasn't found as many metres as Halifax would have liked, and Paul steps out of the first tackle, and Huddersfield with tackles in the bag set themselves for another assault on that Halifax line with MacDonald into, well, there was 4 there. Scrappy play the ball as Huddersfield managed to keep it going. Halifax don't have any men in defence, and Huddersfield will go over for the second try. Well, there are complaints, I think, about the way the play the ball went. Halifax may have thought there was a call coming from the referee, but Huddersfield are playing it to the whistle. Over for the second try under the post. So Huddersfield's second try, round about the half-hour mark, moves them into double figures. Halifax 2, Huddersfield Giants 10. And I think it was Stephen Wild who got the touchdown for the Giants. No disputing that De Vere will probably, on his last success, get this one from under the post, and he does.
Successful try for Huddersfield by number 20, Andy Raleigh, and successful conversion by number 4, De Vere.
Andy Raleigh that scored the try, former Hulkinson Rovers player who tormented Halifax in all their meetings last season. Former Sheffield player. Made a big impact at Hull KR. Made his way into Super League. I think he's a Huddersfield lad as well. So the offer from the Giants too good to resist once he was invited. And that's Raleigh again. He's only been on the field a couple of minutes. Riley trying to help out the forwards. And Halifax not falling to the scoop from the dummy half, but struggling to put down the man with the ball. And second penalty for Huddersfield, hand in at the play the ball. So easy meters, unless Barlow can keep it in play, which he can't. MacDonald, first drive again. And I think Jason Bolts took an elbow off MacDonald there. And here he comes again, the big prop who's been with Leeds, Wigan, I think Wakefield as well. And he's taken the Giants to within 10 metres, so they're looking for a quick follow-up to that last try. And Andy Raleigh it is that's on hand again, close to the line, brought down 2 metres away. Robbie Paul looks for runners, finds one, but the ball goes to ground. Steve Snitch unable to keep hold of a slippery ball there. And losing possession, so a let off for Halifax. We're still clinging on to the tails of Huddersfield at 12 points to 2. A very bright opening, but Huddersfield slowly taking a grip on this game with the 2 tries from Gardner and Raleigh. Penny to Andy Kirk. Kirk immediately marked as soon as he got the ball. Heckenberg. Halifax making changes with Dane Nyrinks on, Simpson back on. Jody Sharif has left the field, so has Jason Bolts at the other side of the field. But Blackwood caught on the last tackle, so Joel Penny will get the kick away down that far side. And a good kick as well. Has seen the ball going to 5 metres from the Huddersfield line. Good pressure relieving kick from the Halifax scrum half. Halifax looking to contain the Giants. First tackle made 11 metres away from the Giants line, and Stephen Wild coming up from acting half. Nero, the ball out wide to Snitch. Nero in at acting half again, and Raleigh clattered by 3 Halifax defenders on the 30 metre line, and they're going back to Drew again, who's looking for a 40-20, but won't get anywhere near. It's a full 8 or 9 metres short. So Halifax Huddersfield respecting Halifax. A lot of the kicks coming before the signal for the 5th tackle. Trying to catch Halifax out, but not done a bad job so far, as Huddersfield try to push and have pushed them off the ball. And Robbie Paul comes up from acting half, and that'll be a 3rd try. And that is the size of the pack. There was mentioning earlier one of the biggest packs in Super League, and they just brushed Halifax away there when the ball was fed in. And I don't think the conditions will have helped Halifax. There's no where you can get any purchase for resistance on a field like this. And Robbie Paul taking full advantage and stretching the Giants lead. Halifax 2, Huddersfield Giants 16. Robbie Paul not taking long to endear himself to the Far Town faithful. And De Vere, the kicks just get simpler and simpler. This one from in front of the post. Halifax with Dean Lawford's penalty 2. Huddersfield Giants with 3 tries and 3 conversions, 18. Well, they managed to resist the charges of the Huddersfield forwards for quite some time, did Halifax, but it looks as though the strength of that pack will now dominate what is left of this game, as Riley underneath it and gets it to Andy Raleigh, who is constantly making metres for the Giants with his runs from every part of the field. Wayne MacDonald has lost possession, and I think a claim that somebody stole it there. But Halifax obviously not done yet. It was a big hit on the big prop, and he lost the possession. And there's always a pretty good chance that could have happened, but Halifax might be, well, the scrum formed, and Halifax got it out this time. Penny running at the Giants defence, going on his own and taking the ball into the 20-metre area of the Giants. But with Penny the organiser running the ball up, it leaves Halifax short of options other than to just take it towards the post. Now Simpson will run at the defence, but the tackle made around the legs by the hooker Drew. Lawford looking for runners, nobody accepting the invitation, so Lawford tries to duck under the tacklers. Simeon Hoyle does a little scoop from acting half, and he's drawn 4 defenders to him. It'll give Halifax numbers on this side on the last tackle if they can get the ball across, but the Giants will be quickly out of the blocks once again. Here Penny looking for the kick towards Haley, but that, well, it hasn't favoured Halifax, but they're unable to push the Giants man behind the line, so they're going to have to be careful of the penalty for the offside. Halifax in numbers, charging in, and there's a scrummage on the line, and it falls to this side of the try line. But can Halifax do the same again? The last recipient took the ball behind the line. Well, this is one man. They'll struggle to push backwards, although they're trying everything. And once again, it's 3 and 4 men in at the tackle. They will do the same again, but they may get caught out here as Paul gets the ball out on that far side. And the Giants make fully 40 metres out of actually nothing there, but Halifax did what they could to try and restrict the progress, and they threw 8 men into 2 tackles as Simeon Hoyle goes over the top of Brad Drew, claiming for a high tackle. The Australian hooker, that ball not really rolling towards Haley in the mud, so he has to go towards it and pick it up. Brad Atwood into a 2-man tackle, a couple of minutes away from half time, and a big hit from MacDonald on Damien Ball. Simeon Hoyle to Nyrings, and MacDonald's there again. Huge imposing figure of Wayne MacDonald. Penny gets it away to Lawford. Lawford goes for the gap that's quickly closed up by the Huddersfield defence, the last tackle, and Penny won't be able to get his kick away. It goes loose and into touch on that far side. scrum fed on the forte as Stephen Wild comes in off Martin Aspinwall comes in off the wing. Robbie Paul manages to get the ball away to Riley, and Riley steps around too, and then he's put down on the forte. There's runners here. Andy Raleigh is going to be away for a second try. Well, the torment of Andy Raleigh continues for Halifax. Over for his second try, and the speed of the passing was just too much for Halifax there, unable to react, and Raleigh racing away from around 20 metres out, and the fatigue may be setting in for Halifax now as Huddersfield scored the fourth try, and De Vere in front of the post again for the attempted conversion. Shouldn't have any trouble making it 24. I don't think I've ever seen as many Giants supporters, so they're finally responding to what the rugby team's doing. And De Vere successful with the fourth conversion. It's Halifax 2, Huddersfield Giants 24. And they were only just second best for Halifax for 25 minutes of this game, but Riley once again getting over the advantage line for the Giants. Damien Ball and James Haley making the tackle, and Balling again the tackle with Nyrings. Paul Smith driving up 5 metres from halfway. Drew back to Robbie Paul. Huddersfield looking for a longer run. The ball looked to go forward from this position up here, but referee Ronnie Lawton says play on. A metre from halfway, and Snitch gets the ball away, but it will go to ground, and the hooter will signal the end of the first half, in which Halifax were matching Huddersfield for around 20 minutes, and in fact took the lead with Lawford's penalty. But bigger and stronger, and coming from Super League, the full-time men from the Gal Farm went on the rampage. Gardner taking a first try when there were 2-on-1 at this side of the field. Raleigh only just on the field, a couple of minutes under the post for the second. Paul, after Halifax had been pushed right off the scrum by the pack about 20 metres out, and Raleigh with his second after some good interpassing, and Halifax struggling in defence. 4 conversions from Michael De Vere. At the Shea, it's Halifax 2, Huddersfield Giants 24.